Hey, welcome back, and just welcome if it's your first time here, but today we're gonna do something really cool. I'm gonna turn this big sheet of plywood into this nook box. Pretty cool, huh? It's not really magic though. Thanks for having some fun with me. Here's what I really wanna do today. I have used nook boxes constantly since I began beekeeping about 10 years ago. They're for swarms, they're for splits, and I have the bees in those until I put them into deeper boxes. But a move I've been making more lately, and that's the fact that I'm using these more like a support staff box. I'm putting bees in these to build. I'm using them as resources. I'm using them to build comb. And one thing I've determined is that I've always built them like this. They're just a solid box. It's a good solid box, and it's usually whatever plywood I got left over. And so, you know, you kind of get a hodgepodge. But the thing I have a problem with is that there are times I've got tons of bees, I really don't have any place to put them, and it's like, hey, this would be a good opportunity to put something on top of it, like another box, and let the bees build that comb out. Then I've just got more resources. So I'm coming up with a system, nothing new. It's out there. I just want to show you how I'm going to do it, in that I'm building bases, but I'm going to have removable bottom boards. And I'm going to find a way to attach those. And I haven't come close to that quite yet, but it's gonna happen before the end of this video, I guarantee it. And I'm going to build so that the deep box here is separate. So I can pick it up and it's universal. So I'm gonna build, I think I need to build 8 more of them this year to do the splits that I want initially. And I'm gonna build it to this size. I'm going to have a removable bottom board, and then I'm going to be able to take these boxes, if I need it, and stack them on top of each other. But then just for fun, I've always thought, why not put a nook box the size of a honey super on top of a really active hive with blank frames in it, and let them build out that comb. Then take that comb, move it over to hives that you need drawn out comb on to have them make more honey, and then stick other blank frames in there. So just maybe another way to increase your honey production. You're gonna see all that this year. We didn't start out until a little bit late last year in filming these things, so a lot of my nook work was completed at that point, so you couldn't really film something that you weren't gonna do. So you'll get to go through that with me this year to see how I'm using nook boxes as support staff, and really how this system of boxes gives me flexibility in switching things in and out, and hopefully just making my life a little bit easier, because that's what it's kind of about. Anyway, so we're gonna get on with this. I'm dealing with 4x8 sheets of plywood, and they're unruly. If you've got the opportunity to have somebody help you a little bit with it, get somebody when you're working the saws on the initial until you can get these sheets down to a manageable size. I've got the beekeeper's wife Joy here is going to give me a little bit of a hand to get moving on these things. I'm using initially my circular saw, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. And then secondly, after I'm done doing an initial cut and getting this board into half, we're going to take it over. I'm going to use my table saw. I know a lot of you don't have a table saw, but you can always just continue using a circular saw on it. For me, table saw is just a little bit easier. I get a little more control than what for me is an unwieldy circular saw. Well, let's be honest, I can't cut a straight line to save my soul. So that's why we're going to be using the table saw. So we're going to get on with it here. So let's go. Before I go through the process of cutting this board in half, we are going to talk just a brief minute about a cut sheet. I found this great little program. It's free. It does everything you need, and it gives you your cut list. And we'll figure out how much wood you need to buy, and then you just simply lay it out. And once it's laid out, it's ready to cut. And yes, if you know me or have been watching me, you know that I laid it all out. Then I walked away for a minute, and I came back and I measured a second time. And it was actually correct. But I did second guess myself 2 or 3 times. Another thing I suggest is, I've just got this on 2 tables. It could be on sawhorses, but it goes in between. I'm going to be cutting right down in between these 2. And just always a good idea to clamp down your work just so that things don't move around on you. But okay, let's get over and we're going to cut this thing in two. Okay, time to cut this bad boy in half. So, you know me, put on the safety glasses. But I will also tell you, my hearing, I want to protect every little bit of it I've got. So these are downbeats. I can still hear around them, but it cuts the decibel level down. It helps a little bit. I would say it's just another safety feature. So let's get to cutting. I cannot cut this all the way through because I can't reach across and it's not safe. So I cut it about halfway, then I'll turn back around and we'll cut it the rest of the way, and then we're good to start taking it over to the table saw. So here we go. And it's about halfway, about as far as I'm comfortable reaching. So bring my cord around, pull my saw out, meet you on the other side. Try to get the cord out of the way, try to get the camera from being unkicked, and away we go. And that's all she wrote. So now it's time to cut out the boards. I've got everything cut into a manageable space, or size I should say. Just makes it easier to handle, easier on the table saw. I do have a couple of rollers I think help me out the other side of it, so I don't want things falling on the floor or things bucking up. I'm gonna be honest with you, this saw scares me more than any other piece of equipment I've got. Well, maybe my chainsaw, but besides that, in the shop, I have the utmost of respect for this, so I'm very careful with it. I think through everything that I'm doing to go with that. The safety thing I'd like to share though with you is I love this little tool. It's called a gripper, and it basically takes place of the old famous push rod, you know, where you're pushing things through. This basically, you keep your hand on top and it goes on the sides of the blade and pushes everything through. My hand never comes close to the blade, which is something I absolutely love. Everything in the bottom of this is sacrificial. I think you can see where I've cut through it a couple times. But hey, much better it's cutting through this than cutting through this, because I kind of want these. Okay, so again, as always, safety goggles, a must. Instead of using earplugs, I'm going to use my earbuds because they've got noise canceling. Plus, you know, a little bit of soft background music to soothe the soul. Okay, so we're going to get going on this. Let's make this happen. Turn on the handy dandy vacuum system. And I also really suggest getting a dust collection system as well. I think it really helps just keep your lungs and things clean, because fine particulates are hard. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, let's make this happen. Only about 45 more cuts to go. That's two. First deep side. One board down, one in the scrap, and four more to go. Okay, let's make this happen. And here's my first super side. Now that I have that cut, that's a little bit better. Now that I have that cut, I'm going to take one of these sides and one of these sides, and they will become my templates. And my next four cuts, I'll just show you real quick how I do this. To make sure that I'm consistently getting the same width each time, I will take my fence, I'll put my piece in, and I'll snug it up against the blade. Lock everything off, and now every single piece is going to be exactly the same depth as this piece. Consistency. You've heard me say it in my other videos, I'm gonna always keep saying it. Consistency across equipment will make your life so much easier. And here we go. And there you have it, another board down. I've got just a few more to go. I'm not gonna bore you with all that. It's just the same thing over and over and over. But we're gonna get all this cut. It probably won't take me another maybe half hour, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm gonna take this time as a little bit of a break to thank everybody who's been tuning in and watching the videos. Much appreciated. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. We're really close to hitting 1,000 subscribers, and I'd like to be part of that initial group because hey, you're near and dear to my heart. So appreciate that very much. Once I get everything cut here, we're going to go through the process of laying out and doing the bottom boards. I still haven't figured out how I'm going to attach the bottom boards to the boxes, but I'll have that figured out by the end of the video, promise. Well, now that I've got all the side pieces cut and bottom boards cut, I have to cut some 3/4 inch plywood to do the ends, because you got to be able to have space to put frames on, right? So that's what I use 3/4 for. But this is all stuff I had left over from the last time I made boxes, and as luck would have it, this is like the perfect size to cut exactly in half, and it is exactly as wide as my deep frames. Don't believe me? I already cut one. And if you can see, they are perfectly level. So all I really need to do now is go over to the chop saw behind me over here, and we're gonna cut these in half. I'm going to have my end pieces done. I've got a little bit more to do in the bandsaw, whatever, but I mean, it's not a big deal. You see where I'm going with all that. I am then going to have to set up my router, and I will be cutting in the shelf for the frames to sit on. Then we're gonna start putting things together. Here we go. I've got all my end pieces cut, and it's time to cut in the frame holders. I use my router table for that. Basically, all I did was measure out a super that I had and set my router bit to cut to that depth. I'm just gonna run these through the router, and then after that, we're gonna cut the pieces for the bottom board, and we're gonna start putting things together. Let's get these things routed out. So that does it. I'm done routing out the sides and the frame rests, and now we're going to get on with cutting out the bottom boards, which is a little bit different, and I've got figured out how I'm going to attach those. I've got some clamps. I'll show you how to put those on as well. And we're getting close. Handhelds, then we got to paint them up, and we're ready for spring. Well, I don't know if I'm ever ready for spring, but it's coming whether I like it or not. So now I need to measure out the bottom board, and these are my bottom boards. And I need to know how wide I need my piece. So it's pretty easy to do. I'm just gonna take a bottom board and my combination and just set it up there and crank it down. And it is 3/4 of an inch. And I already knew that, but I thought, okay, I'll just show you how I did that. So I know that I need to have the boards that will go onto this bottom board. They have to be 3/4 of an inch thick. I also don't want them to be any thicker than my side panels. So what I'm going to do with that is on the sides, I'm going to be cutting the boards to this thickness. These are 1/2 inch boards, and when I measure it out, yeah, it's just about right at a 1/2 inch, just a tad shy. I'm gonna cut them just a tad shy. Anyway, so I've got that. But I also know that my end boards on this side are wider. So I'm going to need to cut wider pieces to fit those. I just don't want any overlaps. Give bees a chance to do something crazy, and they will. And then these are going to be measuring out at 0.66 inches. So we'll cut everything to that length, measure everything out. I know that I'm going to be measuring this length of the board based on my sideboards. And I'm just gonna cut them out and rip them. You don't need to see me cut that down and cut them out and rip them. I'm just gonna rip everything down, get it ready to go, and then I'm gonna show you how it goes onto this bottom board. So I'll be right back. Time to do the bottom boards. I got my pieces cut. This is pretty simple. Basically, I'm gonna glue them down. I'm gonna put them on. I'm gonna glue them down. And there's not a whole lot to it. As I'm looking here, I'm gonna get this tightened up. I'd like to dry fit first, obviously, before I do anything, and that looks good. So let's glue her down. I'm gonna move to the edge of the table, and I am going to use clamps and a lot of glue. That was a little bit too much glue. We're gonna glue this down. Okay, I've got that clamp down. Find my safety glasses, and I'm putting 1-inch crown staples into these. Just goes far enough in, holds it down tight. The glue and the staples are gonna make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And we put a couple staples in. And then repeat the process. Again, I'm gonna dry fit. I just want to make sure when I put these in, and that's going to be perfect. Put a little glue on that, clamp it down. All is even. And the last side. As you can see, this is not complicated at all. I'm making these as simple and as portable as I possibly can. And really, it's the portable part that I'm looking for, and making sure that I've got flexibility to change these in and out. I could put a shallow box on top of this, or I can stack 4 or 5 high if I needed to. That's the beauty of it. I'm really treating Nook boxes as my support staff. And the bees that are in there are going to really provide support for all the other hives. If I play it right, then I should have great honey flow. I'm pretty excited because the long range forecast came out, and it says that the entire time that we're in honey flow here, that we will have below normal precipitation. Well, here's why it's a good thing. Also in that long range forecast, they said that we will have unstable weather and that we'll have some thunderstorms. So here's what happens with that. The bees obviously don't go out when it's raining. If you don't have a lot of rain, then the bees are out foraging all the time. It's spring, so it's not like it's the desert part of July, August, September when you're in the middle of a dearth. No, it's springtime and things go kaboom. And if you get just that right amount of rain, like through a thunderstorm or some other things, then you've got a honey flow that's unbelievable. We had this about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I couldn't put supers on hives fast enough. Every 10 days, I was putting a new super on hives. It was just insane. And I've never had bees that just busted like they busted. So I'm pretty excited about that. And these guys, I think, are going to be able to help me out with that. Plus, I can keep taking frames of bees out, putting them in Nook boxes, and keep the size of the hives a little bit smaller. Another thing to help prevent swarming. Okay, that's been glued down. I'm done with my rant on that. Let's nail this and let's be on with it, because next, we're going to put boxes together. And there you have it. There's not a whole lot more to it. It's just a very simple bottom board. Okay, now we're going to put together some boxes. Okay, I'm back from my parts pile. I built a really simple jig to help me make these when I did my first test fit. I just took a couple of pieces of scrap, and this will help me hold everything in place and square while I make these up. So this is the way I do that. Take my sideboard, put it into the handy jig, square it, take the other board, decide which side you want in, and push it into the jig. So I've got my pieces in, and then I just want to dry fit my sides. Then I'm going to take a carpenter square and just do a quick check and squeeze around to get everything even. And that's square. Keep that handy. So again, now we're ready to put the box together. I'm going to put a little glue. I'm going to put a lot of glue actually on the sides of these. Make sure to get that rabbit at the top. Is that what you call that? That's what I call it. Along the side, and in it goes. Repeat. Clamps. Everything evened out. That side's exactly where I want it. This side is exactly where I want it. And bada boom, bada bing, we're about to be done. Again, make sure you got everything evened up and where you want it. Take some pressure off of that. That's where I want it. Watch your fingers, because that's a pain I don't really want to ever feel. I'm going to take my rubber mallet and push that down just a bit to even it up. And there you have it, box made. I'm making 8 deeps, 8 shallows for these. And so I've got, I made one, I've got 14 to go, but I'm gonna show you how it fits the bottom board. Sits on the bottom board and everything evens up exactly the way I want it, and you're good to go. I'm gonna make the top for this, and I'm gonna actually just show you basically the top. So these are basically the tops I'm gonna make, and all you're really doing is cutting out a piece of plywood, and I'm using, these were 1x2s. I'm gonna cut these down, rip them down, and use a smaller board on the top. It's just not necessary to have that much wood on the top. But I do all 4 sides. I know that there's a lot of boxes out there that, you're just, doing 2 sides to hold them on. I'm not doing that because I know I will probably have an issue. So I make the box, I cut the plywood to fit, and there you have a whole unit. Except the moment you've all been waiting for. Well, you haven't been waiting for it, but I've been waiting for it because it just took me a long time to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And basically, I'm just using, as you can see here, just a clamp, a really simple clamp that I found on Amazon. You can get them at any big box store. Put one on this side. I'm not going to show you how I put them on. It's just they're a clamp. The only tip I will give you is that take whatever side you have and split it in half. And for me, that's putting everything right at 9 7/8. And if I do that, I am universal in being able to take a box anywhere I want to put it. So really, it's just a simple clamp. You've seen them before, you know, and it just holds it in place. That's all I really want to do. So if I need to, I can pick it up and I can move it. Now the bees are going to glue this down, I realize that, but it just gives me a little bit more insurance if I'm moving something really early in the stage and they haven't had a chance to propolize it in. And then they simply, when I need to, come apart, and then I can put boxes on top of them, and I can put more clamps on top if I need to do that, if I feel like I need to. We'll see. I'm not sure this is the end result. There's a couple flaws I already see in it. If I ever wanted to put boxes right next to each other and share resources, or if I needed to put a queen excluder on because I just wanted wax above, I didn't want a queen to go up and lay, I probably don't have room to do that. So probably not the end all, but it is a result that will give me what I want. And I'm going to be able to clamp things down. I'm going to have the universal I want, and we'll see how it goes. But that's what you got. So there you have it, ready to be painted. Check my painting video to see how I paint these up very fast. I am not going to put latches on until after I paint, okay? Just another handy hint from your Uncle Dave. But then we're good to go. I'm gonna make the tops, and out in the field they go. We're supposed to be in the 60s and 70s starting on Monday of next week. Today is a Thursday. And that means we are out in the field. So we will be in the field probably for the next 3 or 4 weeks, just getting bees going, and it should be pretty interesting. Ought to be a great year. I'm glad you're gonna follow along with me. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. You'll get first notifications of the new videos are out, and happy beekeeping. We'll see you in the field here real soon. Take care.